Overcrowded cells, no interest by the media, no interest by the human rights group, no bleeding heart, middle class persons worried about those issues. So from that perspective. But where are we today? We've been talking. I don't because of Hawthorne why I'm actually here, because I respect the work and the commitment and what he has supported the group that we work with. But I really don't want to contribute to another talk shop. And I, for one, don't believe that the government of Jamaica is acting with any sense of urgency on this matter. I don't believe that the executive, and I've said this to many of them, so it's nothing I'm saying behind their backs, understand the vast potential, the magnitude of the potential that this industry is about. In people's minds, unfortunately, it's about more people just smoking Ganja on the road. And that is just the least of it. The jury is out as to what harm Ganja does to people smoking, underage, habitat, how much. Jury is out, and I'm not going to get into that debate. I had my few puffs while I was in JC 6th form. I've not smoked from even JC 1970. I didn't see any negative impacts on me. I was not addicted, right? And I won't call them in because some of the JC old boys. They hold some very serious positions in the society who used to go upstairs and smoke her. But talking about the farming implications, I think all of us, not just the farmers, all of us have to be guardians that this industry is protected for Jamaicans and protected for Jamaican farmers. I don't think everybody should be excluded, but I am just amazed by some people who call me. And I welcome their interest. Who want to, they have 200 acres, they have 500 acres, willing and wanting, when this thing going free up, when the gate going fly. I am just amazed. People who I would never have thought of in growing this product. So, as you know, we have the Cannabis Commercial Medicinal Research Task Force, and we spawned the Ganja Future Growers and Producers Association. I hear the word future won't be with it too long. But what are the farming implications? All we're going to make sure it is protected for the Jamaican farmer. And we have not come to any final decision, but certainly in my mind, in the first 3 years, it has to be restricted to strictly Jamaican farmers, and it has to be restricted in size. Otherwise, those who want to grow 200 acres, 300 acres, 400 acres will take over the industry. They too must be allowed to grow their 5 acres, their 10 acres, until the Jamaican farmer understands the industry from an international legal, not understand from an international perspective, but from a legal international perspective. It can't be that people should be allowed, the big farmers, should be allowed to grow 100, 200, 300 acres of this. Certainly the people who need the product must contract Jamaican farmers to grow their product. Put their quality control experts, give them the kind of seeds they want, but they should not be allowed to grow more than their own research area. And then they contract Jamaican farmers. Certainly, the farmers who supply must be able to, through a cooperative, own part of that enterprise, so that we're not just producers and suppliers, but we earn from the finished product. So if hemp oil is not valuable. That up to a month ago I was told by Dr. Low at his law was selling more, an ounce of hemp oil was selling more than an ounce of gold. We want our farmers not just to provide the raw material, but we want them to benefit from the finished product. Certainly the workers, we have to dust off ESOPs, employee share ownership programs, that they get preferential shares. So it is not for foreign companies to come in and say, yes, grow the crop for us, and we make the finished product. And not we, they make the finished product. And the finished product leaves Jamaica 20 times value added, 40, 50 times. And all we are doing is producing the raw cannabis to keep them. We have done that with 2 of our crops, as we have seen. So this has to be different. How should the money be used? I certainly support that someone has to go to public education. Someone has to subsidize development and research. And someone has to make sure some people still grow food for us to eat. I say to you, it is not that threat. Everybody's just to grow their own. In the same way you have the farmers in Stewardship having tomatoes, rotten. You have the same thing with Ganja. So it's not what you want to grow, it's what people want to buy. So the Future Growers Association is a very important group, and they have excellent leadership, and they have a collective leadership, and they have people who are not restricted by any political concerns, right? Because, as I said before, very early in the day when I became chair, that I would have the chair for more than 3-4 months. And they have put a leadership in place that they are really studying the implications of this industry. We also want to make sure that most of the things leaving Jamaica is finished products, not the raw cannabis. But there's a market for raw cannabis. Yes. And in many countries right now, they are selling their own stuff as Jamaican herb. As I call it, used to sell things as Blue Mountain coffee. Right? And people are marketing and branding it, all kind of stuff as Jamaican herb, which is not authentic Jamaican herb. So there's a marketplace for that. Now, the oversight committee, the criteria must be so plain and straight for those who want to grow, that once you meet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you get your license to grow. Nobody must feel that you know somebody, know a politician, know a big man. It must be open that the average Jamaican, the man that used to take the blows and the licks, right, can grow his stuff. Finally, I believe if the Jamaican people are not mobilized to push this, and we believe that announcements are victories, as sincere as they may be, and this is what has caused some of the passive thing that we just believe it's going to come. But let me tell you my last story. In 1978, Dr. Ken McNeil chaired a committee. And of that, and we just learned the other day, was a 1975 study done, and Louis Marston found that study, which showed clinical evidence that debunked a lot of the myths that Ganja was universally dangerous. That once you use Ganja, you are going to go mad and all those things. And that has been in the university language for many years, unknown to many people. And it's just last week that we're coming out again. There's a lot of information about that. But in 1978, the Jamaica Council of Churches was opposed to it. The Medical Association of Jamaica was opposed to it. So that parliamentary committee, you could appreciate, went into 1980. None of the two political parties wanted to take on the church, the Medical Association of Jamaica, the United States of America, and all of that. An inside story, I made a fundamental mistake in 1999. I was in a different room at a different time about to move a resolution for a certain party to legalize, call for the legalization of ganja. And the members of that party were very interested and very militant, and we're going to pass that resolution. And I was told, don't do that, because study the thing first. And the Shaban's committee was set up. And that committee did some good work. Fell short, but many of us who were there, Rasta Silva, Jalan, Paul Chang, Michael Long, felt that it was a good first step. But that decriminalization was a halfway step. Just like when they gave the slaves apprenticeship. Not the real thing yet, but it still moved the thing forward. So I wouldn't accept it. And that sat down for 10 years. Nothing happened. I am saying to you, if you understand and appreciate how important this thing is, it's one of the planks of the National Economic Recovery Program and of the local economic development. Thousands of jobs, commerce, distribution, allow people to grow their own plants for their own use. That we must not wait until the government is ready. Right? We must agitate, we must advocate, we must insist. And then we can start farming, and then farming will have implications for us.
Thank you very much, Paul Burke. I like the idea of protecting our intellectual property rights, because that is certainly important if it's high-grade ganja. Our next speaker will expand these issues. You look at the economic implications of a ganja industry. Because if in fact it is as high as $140 billion US, I can't even put that in Jamaica. If it's that, our future is in ganja. But we would need to have an economic framework. What kind of incentives would we need to put in place to have fair play? I mean, what sort of incentives would we need to have to get people involved in the industry? And what kind of regulations would we need to put in place to have fair play so everybody can come and sit at the table? And what kind of financing mechanisms would you need? Because from all that we've heard today, it's good business, but it is expensive business. It's not easy for you to get into the market. Well, Mr. Tony Verzura, who currently runs the day-to-day operations of the Act Now program, will give us some thoughts as to how we can, or what are the economic implications of the ganja industry. He runs the day-to-day operations of the Act Now program, patient care programs, product development, accredited training protocols, quality assurance, continued education, and oversees all marketing efforts. Mr. Verzura is the founder of River Rock Wellness with 7 medical retail cannabis licenses in Denver, Colorado. That's the place to be if you love ganja. But this is where it began. This is where the real, this is not where it began. I never correct that. But this is where the good stuff is. As a former general contractor, he has managed projects in excess of $100 million with an emphasis on state-to-state operations. Tony will be working hand in hand with our affiliated partners to assure a smooth transition into the United Cannabis family and will be coordinating efforts to optimize their global operations. Mr. Verzura has been featured on CNBC Money Talk, Washington Post, and publications in Culture Magazine, TH Magazine, and High Times. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to have Mr. Tony Verzura, who has been on CNBC and other places, to tell us today about the economic implications of the ganja industry.
Well, I was checking my notes, and it didn't say anything about libido or the female plant. I wish I had that subject. But mine is a little more cut and dry. I think it comes down to a few things, and I wrote some notes down here. It comes down to awareness. It comes down to timing. It comes down to standards, regulations, brands, and community. What do I mean by that? Is how aware is your community? How aware are you about medical cannabis, hemp, social aspects, social responsibility of using cannabis in a recreational way. It's your awareness, which is what's going to expand the economical impact. Where are you, and how willing are you to accept the entire plant and its full spectrum capability of helping people and having a place for industry and also having a place for responsible recreational use. So the timing is also an important issue because the rest of the world is changing around you. So depending on how fast you act at this particular time, and I mean timing within 90 days to 6 months. And I know that's very, very, very fast for everyone in Jamaica. But you have to look at what some of the other professors and principals from UE talked about in timing of what's going on in the United States, what's going on in Guam, what's going on in Canada, Uruguay, every country around the world. And at one point, Jamaica had the ball, and they weren't first. We all knew that. That's what the Rastas talked about, that's what music talked about. And then there became prohibition. Prohibition spread in the United States, and it spread around the world. Many people went to jail, many people sacrificed their lives. And so today is that opportunity of that timing. So you can stand up as an entire nation and not fight amongst yourselves and find those solutions to where you can help every aspect of life in every department. So that starts with standards. So if everybody wants to be part of these products and everybody wants to be part of what's going on, you have to stand within a community and you have to build that, like Paul Burke had said before I came up here. So that's simple. That's creating a standard of weighing to grow, a standard of your cultivation, a standard of your resin, a standard of processing and creating local branded products by the people that are here through a regulation and a regulatory system. That also opens up more economical impacts. Once you're able to do that, then you can have localized branded products that are actually made here, like you have your Blue Mountain coffee, not the raw, not just raw cannabis, but actually products that are finished and made here and branded here, and then exported to the rest of the world. That has vast, huge community impacts, not in the billions, but in the trillions. That's the truth. Because if you accept it, and you're aware of it, and you understand that there's industrial, medical, and social aspects of this plant, and you embrace it, and you turn the rest of the world on to you, and you understand that you have to study it in a scientific aspect, and debunk all of the different myths or the different solutions or the different things that you've seen. You have to find the most effective way to use the plant possible for all three of those categories. So that's going to affect your economical impact. So those are pretty big statements. And why do I say that? I say that is because I started on the floor 6 years ago, like anyone else, with less than $200, 6 lights, and 6 plants. That's how I started. So I had no economy. I had zero. And so I was a patient and an activist, and somebody that had a mission to help myself and to help the others around me. So I also been through opiates. I've been through painkillers. I've been through car accidents. I've been yelled at. I've been told I'll never make it. I've been disowned by my family. All of which did not come true. I just kept pushing through. So that's how I started River Rock. And in 5 years, we developed both indoor and outdoor cultivation, 300 different strains in-house. And we've created, actually I've created a program, and that's what she was talking about with the Act Now program, which is utilizing all full spectrum of all the cannabinoids, 85 medicinal of them, in its raw and live form, not utilizing activated THC. So I eliminate THC in the entire program, but I use the acid forms of THC. This developed into a widespread medicinal outbreak, if you will, in Colorado. So what ended up happening was we didn't help 3% of the nation. We started helping 80% of our population with effectiveness of 90%. So the list of autoimmune and central nervous dysfunctions we were able to address without any psychoactive experience whatsoever, utilizing the full plant in its full integrity. We also legalized cannabis, so I need a round of applause for that. So in that process, I also went public, and I took all of these products and all these inventions and these things and these ideas and decided to implement them in state by state, since we weren't allowed to cross borders. So we still have prohibition going on. And in doing so, this allowed us to infiltrate into different territories to set up this information and use partners and localized grows and sustainable community projects that allow us to grow within. This is massive economical impact, and this all comes from how much do you want to accept this? Do you just want hemp? Do you just want medical ganja? Do you want to accept the social and the recreational aspect? In my opinion, having all three of those and taking your time with that and understanding how to actually create those regulations and standards and following the lead of everyone that's up here that's saying those things is the most appropriate way. So you have to think of this as an industry with training, farming, education, testing, careers, banking. It's humongous. It's not in the billions. It's what's going to save multiple nations in multiple places. But what makes Jamaica unique, it's not just the vibe, it's not the high grade. It's the people that want to make it. You actually want to do it. That's different. Today I spoke to children about wanting to get involved in cannabis. I don't get to speak to children about cannabis in the United States. So this starts early, and it starts with you.
Thank you very much, Tony, for your very inspirational talk on the value of ganja. Well, Paul said that nearly, well, several years ago, that the Jamaica Council of Churches opposed the whole business of ganja. They didn't say, lick them, Jaja, lick them, Lord. They wouldn't have said that. Polite church group. But the Bible says that herbs are for the healing of the nations. So I wonder then, what would Dr. Gary Harriott, who is the secretary of the Jamaica Council of Churches, say on the matter of ganja? What are the biblical and moral issues? Well, Tony gave us a clue. Tony said we must have social responsibility when it's our children. Dr. Winston Delahaye says, if my young son, who is 10, smokes it, it will affect his memory and his learning. That's what he says, his research is showing. Is that true? Is his research right? Well, he says, yes, we have done real studies, and that's what it is showing. Well, Dr. Gary Harriott will tell us what are the biblical and moral issues related to ganja. He is a minister of religion, of course. He was ordained in 1991, and he has served the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands in a variety of capacities, both in Jamaica and the Grand Cayman. Since September 2006, Reverend Harriott has been serving as General Secretary for the Jamaica Council of Churches, an ecumenical body of 11 Christian denominations. It doesn't include the independent churches, but nonetheless it carries the Catholics, the Baptists, the Methodists, the Anglicans. Reverend Harriott, you're a family counselor and a broadcaster. You should tell my child whether he should really have it, or whether my nephew should be smoking ganja at 20 as he goes to university, or whether this country should embark on a process of change, where real poverty could be solved if we could harness the resources from ganja and make several products and make real income at last. Please, join us at the podium to tell us about the biblical and moral issues.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's really good to be here and to be participating in this conversation. I am not going to present an official position of JCC, and I must say that it is not likely that what I will say will represent the view of the church in Jamaica. But I have, in preparation for coming and sharing with you, I did reflect with some of my colleagues in JCC to hear their thoughts on this matter. And if those responses that I've gotten, well, they seem to be indicating, Paul, that some conversion is taking place. Yes, and I suppose the church, like many others, lack of full information and knowledge. When you do not know something, it has a way of creating anxiety and fear and so forth. And I don't think the church is perfect, and therefore you'll find that happening as well. But I shared some thoughts with some of my colleagues, or got some of their input as I prepared to share with you. And I want to begin by where we call creation theology. And that is based on our understanding of the creation narrative, where in Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth, and he said, it is good. And the psalmist in chapter 24 captures it very well when he says, the earth is the Lord's, and everything that is in it. So from a faith perspective, we believe that the universe is created by God, and that God has entrusted the stewardship of its resources to humanity. And since humanity, or human beings, are God's stewards, we are accountable to God for what we do with God's creation. And therefore, we should not abuse God's creation. We must use it in ways that enable life, in ways that empower human beings, and the rest of the created order. Marijuana, then, is one of the resources. And our scientists and their knowledge and skills are among the gifts that God has given to creation and to us human beings. And they too, like the rest of us, must endeavor to be good stewards of the resources that God has given to us. So it is appropriate to give thanks to God for our scientists, the discoveries that have been made, and that all of us together must work at protecting health, well-being, and the economic empowerment of our people. Love and neighborliness are important principles of the Christian faith. As such, we must be concerned about those who are anxious about what decriminalization and legalization may mean, the negative impact it could have on families, society in general, and especially people who are able to speak from their own experience of how it has affected them or how it has affected their families. So we must do all that we can to protect the vulnerable while making good of the resources that God has given to us. In fact, for us, that is a moral issue, that you must protect the vulnerable. And Dr. Leahy has raised some of the concerns. Justice, and I hear Paul speaking to some of this, but justice is another important principle for us as Christians. We consider it unjust, where the negative side of the story is what is highlighted and has prevented the scientific exploration over these many years to advance in the ways that it could have advanced. And what we see is that our greatest critics, if we're not careful, will deprive us from the benefits. And if we allow that to happen, if we allow others to manipulate the possibilities, and like other things where we export and then have to turn around and import, that would be irresponsible. Another justice question surrounds, and again I hear Paul raising that, the fact that over the years, it is mostly our poor black males who have been dragged before the courts for the use of marijuana. Now, if we're going the route of embracing a more liberalized approach, we should ensure that the wealthy in our land are not the only ones to experience the significant benefits from the industry.
Hallelujah.
We should ensure that it is so structured that the ordinary, organized Jamaican people can also benefit from it. There's the issue of greed that we need to watch, and that's a moral issue as well. That sometimes there's a tendency to want to get the most out of it and put the least in it. And so we will need to ensure that greed does not allow us to sacrifice standard and quality. And so we will need to ensure that all the necessary inputs are made so that we maintain proper standards of the product. Thank you very much.
Well, I must say, all I can say is amen. Hey, amen. Really, I think this was an extremely balanced presentation of the moral Our final presenter is Mr. Courtney Betty, who will tell us about the medicinal tourism implications. Courtney Betty is a lawyer, but he's a lawyer with a conscience. He's a lawyer that has some kind of social responsibility. He has gained an excellent understanding of the legal and regulatory framework at the Department of Justice in Canada. He has also had a successful track record of contributing to the development of Jamaica, having served as a former senior legal counsel of the Fair Trading Commission, and he helped to pave the way to have the deregulation of telecommunications in Jamaica. Mr. Betty has played a key role in advancing the development of medical marijuana industry in Jamaica, and his model of the Green Gold Triangle. Can you tell us what that means? The Green Gold Triangle maximizes the opportunities for Jamaica by creating partnerships which ensures participation from all sectors. His vision for Jamaica is to utilize our natural herbal resources to create health and wealth for our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us invite Mr. Courtney Betty to tell us about the medicinal tourism implications.
Thank you. Good evening. As I heard Paul speak, and I was just reminding him how long ago we actually started this battle. Not as long as Paul Chang. I got to recognize Paul. Please stand up, Paul Chang. And of course, work that Paul has done really on the whole issue of social justice. And that work has been going on for many years, whether you're talking about Peter Tosh or many of the others that have really been at the forefront. As a lawyer, sitting and looking at the opportunities here in Jamaica was very interesting, because as a lawyer you start off first with your legal mind. And what I discovered was that in 1974, the laws of Jamaica actually have a provision that excluded medical marijuana from the definition of ganja. It's a really interesting situation, because we're actually one of the first countries that I'm aware of in the world that actually has a medical marijuana provision from back in 1974. And it was a result of that you have individuals such as Dr. Lockhart that presented this morning, and Dr. West, that were able to develop amazing products, Canisol and Asmasol. So it was quite a surprise, as we're now going through many years later, trying to put in place a legal and regulatory framework. I've been fortunate in working along with Hawthorne from the initial process, looking at the type of submissions that would go to Cabinet, working along with the Minister of Justice, who in his presentation of the first document that was tabled recognized the work that time has sit down in trying to look at a potential legal and regulatory framework. And what I saw was a couple of things when I started on this. I saw Israel started after Jamaica,
but they had moved this so far advanced. They put in place a legal and regulatory framework. They began all the scientific and research development that was required. They own the vast majority of patents. If you go and you search marijuana patent, you're going to be shocked how many Israeli companies actually own those patents. I mean, they're very far ahead. So my vision, which we launched here in Jamaica on May 22nd, was to really combine the research, the technology that is being developed, the common practices from Israel, with the greatness of Jamaica, or natural goods and products that we're able to grow here, and bring it to the international market. And we called it the Green Gold Triangle. And so as I look today, we didn't trademark that one, but I'm glad to see that we're here at the Green Gold Conference. And so we moved farther because we had a particular vision. Having worked here in Jamaica, having worked on the community level on many different projects, I don't need to mention them specifically. What we wanted to do was to create, first and foremost, a common infrastructure that all industries and all people in Jamaica could actually tap into. So some of the things that Tony mentioned, for example, testing facilities, and Hawthorne had mentioned as well, being able to distinguish the amount of CBD versus THC. All of those infrastructures are actually now in place at the University of the West Indies through a partnership that Timeless has put together to form a herbal medicine research center at the University of the West Indies. The next partnership that we went to, we looked forward, because we really thought it was important to ground ourselves in some history, was the Maroons. And Colonel Lumsden is here with us today. Now looking at setting up, Colonel Lumsden, you can stand up please.
As best I can.
As best as we can. And Colonel Lumsden came to us with a project aimed at tourism for the Maroons community in Portland. And so we've been assisting and working with them in terms of getting that rural ecosystem tourism project going. The next initiative that we look at, and we'll talk, was tourism outside of Montego Bay. And with Dr. William Courtney and his wife Christine and others, we're looking at a medical utopia where people can come in from all across the world, particularly senior citizens, and be able to get the type of treatment that they're not going to get in a North American environment, the type of medicines, the type of herbs. If you look at Dr. Janice Fisher, one of the leading experts on medical tourism and stem cell research, and the work that she's been doing in Montego Bay, we're now looking to enhance that. So the opportunities from a tourism standpoint, again, you know, it's a challenging situation because we're trying to separate recreational and all these other elements. The medical tourism side internationally is the one that has tremendous potential, and people will come to the shores of Jamaica. People are now coming to the shores of Jamaica. As Dr. Lockhart may have said, people are coming here and importing cannabis into 23 countries. So there are things that we're already doing. The goal is not to reinvent the wheel. The goal is to see how we can put the proper infrastructure in place to be able to move this ahead. Thank you.
To the point, but effective. Thank you so much, Mr. Betty, for your excellent presentation on the medicinal tourism implications. Akampong is such an interesting place.
Charlestown is too.
Charles, well, all of those areas, because you have such a rich history, a rich heritage, rich knowledge that now can be used in a very sensible kind of way. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from the panelists. They've given us some idea of the medicinal and health implications, the scientific implications, farming, economic, biblical and moral implications, and finally the medicinal tourism possibilities. What have we heard? That 203 million users use Ganja. 203 million persons use Ganja. Currently, I say that it's $140 billion. It's not a business for Ganja-based products. But Tony Zura says, no, you're looking at what is today. You're not looking at the possibilities. You're not looking at the future. And if you look at the future, you're talking trillions. When he said trillions, my eyes saw dollar signs. And I thought about the health of the people. I got so excited.
about the money and the health implications and all of this. And people like Dr. Harriet and Courtney Betty says we need regulations. We need to have an even and careful playing field. We need to make certain that we can have what we want and minimize the negative impacts. Because Dr. Winston Delahaye was not afraid to say there are possibilities, but let me caution you about some of the negative impacts. You don't want to hear about it, you think I'm a doomsayer, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And so he told us what are the possibilities, what he called cannabis-induced psychosis. You see things, you pretend, you think you're hallucinating, your out-of-body experiences. I say, wow. And he said, you don't want to have that. And if you're a kid, you don't want to take it. But still, the pastor said, we need to have balance. Let us see how we can eradicate poverty, develop viable businesses, and move on while minimizing the negative impacts. And then, again, the possibility of medicinal tourism in Jamaica. Well, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So, I'm going to open the floor now for you to ask the panelists and to share your ideas on the possibilities of sensimilla, ganja, cannabis, hemp, marijuana, whatever you call it. Is it really Jamaica's green gold? Okay, the floor is open. I see someone waving. Vanity prevented me from putting on my glasses so I can see you in a black. I think there's a mic.
Testing, testing. Oh, there we go. Good night, everybody. Mr. Tony Vez. Okay, I'm just gonna call him Tony. Yeah. He mentioned something about timing in his presentation. I just wanted to find out if anyone can shine some light on where we are in terms of regulation, getting all of these things up. Because what was it? 6 weeks to 6 months? He said. Can we meet that kind of timing? Do you know? Anybody?
Can we get some assistance here? Is the mic on? You want to come to the podium, Tony? Until we sorted that problem.
So yeah, timing is everything. I can't speak to your regulations because I don't like to take political or government involvement in any type of political stuff or regulations. I just lay out my opinion and what I think people should do and how it could impact people on all levels. But I will be on USA Today and then later on Vice, that's on TV, talking about what will happen when the United States reschedules cannabis to a 2, 3, 4, or even 5, and they will reschedule it eventually. So there's elections that are coming up. What ends up happening is when the United States makes that move, and it's no longer a class 1, so THC would not be up there with heroin, would not be up there with cocaine or acid, as everyone in this room knows it shouldn't be. Not even smoking a spliff should be even anywhere near that. So when they change that, that has drastic implications on what can happen in the United States. Currently, clinical trials are very, very difficult to start. Universities, professors, science communities don't integrate as they do here, and no one's all for that. So therefore, even someone in my position can't actually take the products that we're using to help for cancer and epilepsy and seizures, chronic pain, opiate dependency, things like this. We can't just go test them. We can't just go to the local university and ask them to get involved and help us with that. So the moment they change that is when the opportunity changes. So if you don't act as a country upon that in the next, I said 90 days to 6 months, then that window starts to shrink. So I think you have 6 months, and then that window starts to go away. Now, would I still think that the economy would still boost even if you made the changes? Absolutely, because people want to come to Jamaica. I want to come to Jamaica. I don't want to, right now, it's 17 degrees where I live. If I could take part in medicinal herbs and all kinds of plant-based medicine and integrate this with cannabinoids, I would be here. So people want to come here. Even patients want to come here. This is paradise. This is going to open up a tremendous amount. So you want to act upon it in a very smart, intelligent way as soon as possible.
Just to add to what Tony just said, and in relation to the question that you raised, unfortunately you missed the earlier session of the presentations, but we had somebody who made a presentation regarding the status of the Dangerous Drugs Act, and we were told that hopefully by December of this year it should be in Parliament, and you know, we're moving on track to get it sorted out as quickly as possible.
Okay, next person. Yes, over here.
Okay, good night. Night, everybody.
Just before you answer, may I invite persons who want to ask questions to do exactly what you did, to come into the aisle and use the mic in the aisle. Go ahead.
I would like to ask the creators of this conference. The theme of the conference is medical ganja, and I would like to know what level of consultation there has been with the medical fraternity, considering that nutraceuticals are not necessarily traditional medicine, and as such, but cannabis is not a nutraceutical. So there is fear for the use of cannabinoids in terms of as a medicine. What is the level of consultation in terms of this kind of conference with the medical fraternity or the Ministry of Health or whoever there is that controls medicine in this country?
Is there anybody who wants to take the question?
There really has not been any level of consultation with the medical fraternity. A conference such as this is really designed to get ideas rather than consulting a particular group. You throw it open to get ideas like yours and everybody's. That is put into the melting pot and recommendations are put forward. So the conference is really designed to get information and to give information.
Okay, yeah.
Dr. Delegated, do you want to say anything? Oh, okay.
All right, good evening, everybody. I have been noticing with all that is going on that the manufacturing part of it is already set. We have been asking the question, how are we going to get the government to work faster to make production legal? Because the manufacturers are alright. Them set already, right? Medicinal Ganja is already on the team. But we need the farmers, because you need the produce, you need the product to work from and to work with, right? You need the ganja to do your extracts, you need the ganja to do whatever you need to make your products. Our problem is, if there is no farmer, then you're going to have a problem in getting your stuff, your raw material, right? Right. So, what I am suggesting is all the producers of the various products come together with us as the farmers and press the case along with us. Make the government know that if you don't legalize the farming now, we won't be able to produce anything to export from Jamaica. So, if that doesn't happen, we're still going to be here talking. Right? So, this is the suggestion to you, and I'm sure all the farmers are in agreement with this, that all these people who are producing the products should come into the game with us, or put some petition to the government saying, if you don't legalize the farmers, no, then we are going to shut down, because we won't be getting any raw material to make our products. That's my
Really interesting comment, I must say, but I think the government kind of is a little interested in it. The days of resistance are over, as I understand it. I'm going to ask you, young man, if you'd be kind enough to have Colonel speak before you. Yes, you're in the blue jacket or black jacket.
I requested that I stand until I speak, because I have beyond what the country needs, and sometimes you have to think about yourself, because I too have a personal problem situation. But what I want to speak about is Mr. Betty's talk about tourism, medicinal tourism, or tourism that could generate from medical marijuana period. We have a tournament, a wrestling tournament with the former communities in Charleston on the 6th of December. Now we have a magazine out of America that said that they would fund this tournament and would guarantee a certain number of people coming to the tournament, the size that would make Portland as a tourism destination get a significant boost. However, one of the things that they are requesting is that there be something that says that when these people come to Jamaica, within the boundaries of Charlestown, which is clearly demarked, that they would not be harassed. The 6th of December. Now a compound gets the same thing on the 6th of January. 6 might be something, you know, the ancestors want, but the 6th of December. And I'm wondering if the government can't give us that money to put on that tournament. And we are suggesting that we are trying to find our own, and we're wondering if the government would help us in this, in some way, shape, or form, to satisfy these people that indeed we could get a waiver just for that one day, Matthew. Just that one day.
Get a waiver of what?
A waiver that we would not, the people that come to Charlestown for the tournament, the wrestling tournament, can get smoked within the defined boundaries of Charlestown.
I'm not so sure if there's anyone at the table who can speak to this. But are there any takers? So we will note your request, Colonel, but I'm not so sure if anybody can give a commitment at this time.
Just suggestion. How to go about it.
Next person.
Good evening to the panel. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to preface what I'm about to say first by saying that I only heard about this gathering, the conference on the radio nationwide. I have absolutely no interest, no business interest in it. I am completely and totally against recreational use of marijuana, having seen what it has done to a few persons. I just want to start there. Having said that though, in Jamaica, we have a way of blocking the road when our roads not getting looked after by the MP. I think this is a good cause to block the road. Because if half of what you all said is really so, with the type of money that is waiting for Jamaica to exploit, then this is a really good cause to block Hope Road tomorrow morning. I'm going to ask, let me preface the rest of what I'm about to say first by saying I'm also a Christian. No, but at the end of the day, the Lord gave us, as the Reverend said, all these things for our own betterment. So as I said, I am completely and totally against the recreational use of this drug. Having 2 young daughters myself. Now, question, when has Jamaica ever taken and held with both hands an opportunity like this when the people did not intervene and get radical about demanding that the government does it. So if we go by our history, us sitting down, discussing it, as you all said earlier, where these things have been done from 10, 15, 20 years ago, will change very little. I listened carefully to my brother from up north, who said that the window closes or starts to shrink in about 6 months. That means we have to act now. Mr. Burke, I think you are uniquely placed and positioned, considering the governing administration, to hang on to a few persons and say, hear ye, hear ye. This is the chance and the window is closing. So I would really love, I know, sorry for preaching so long, I'd really love, at the end of all that is said, that a very clear course is charted as to tomorrow morning. What is it a person like me, who just interested in Jamaica's betterment? Because it's not a business interest for me. It's only about how can Jamaica benefit in the long run. So I would want to hear over the radio tomorrow morning. If I must show up down halfway tree to help block the road, I'm willing to come. Yeah. Because we have to do something.
And so say all of us. But I should tell you, brother, I'm not just in it for the health reason in Jamaica. I'm into it for the money. Money. Go ahead. Next.
Thank you very much. Good evening, brothers and sisters. My question is for Paul. I don't know if I heard you right when you spoke about the size of the farms. Are you saying that we should limit the production in terms of the size of the farms, or allowing people to have production just of a certain size? I would like you to explain that a little bit.
Yeah. I have been very consistent that in the first years of the industry, that you have to allow the small farmers the place on the playing field so they're not gobbled up. Because if the product is to make manufactured products or to go abroad, then scales of economy will dictate that those that own 200 acres, 50 acres, 100 acres, 500 acres would be the persons engaged in the contract. If you force a situation where only small farmers can grow in the first 3 years, it means that who wants to come in the industry has to engage the small farmer and not the big farmer. So that the big farmer and the small farmer on the same platform can only grow 1 acre, 5 acres, whatever the amount is for the first 3 years. Then we can review and decide what is. If we ever make the mistake of allowing those who have money to buy a license, pay by acreage, they're going to find that this industry is going to end up for the big farmer, and the traditional farmer is going to be left outside. What people are going to tell us is that we're going to lose some economic advantage. So be it. Economic advantage for who? The big farmer was never involved. I believe, honestly, that unless you protect the small farmer at the outset, he or she is going to be a casualty.
Let me just say this, that I've been in farming for a long time. Very poor person coming from grassroots. And I do not think we should limit the productivity in any area in agriculture. Listen to me carefully. I was president of the Jamaica Bee Farmers Association, honey bee. And a lady came here from New York, and she said, let me see the kind of honey that you have. And we say, okay, we know that Jamaica Lagoon honey is the best. So we gave her a sample to take. You know what she said to us? how many trailer loads can you supply? After she tested it, we have not replied yet. You can't. So you see, 3 years is a number of hours we are talking about. We cannot limit productivity for 3 years. We are a country of samples. We have to get out of the idea of saying we are going to produce this little amount. We have to expand and begin from the beginning. If a big person has 1,000 acres, what we have to do is to make sure he pays tax like everybody else, for the benefit of the country. We cannot. Small farmers have to be protected, because I am one too. You have to protect the person. Regulation to protect. But in terms of production, if we are going to limit it to this small amount, what if the market outside wants to take the rest of it? We have to produce for the market, and if the market wants it, here we are in Jamaica. I agree with you, and I believe in cooperatives 100%. I found a few. So that is important. You have to protect the small farm. But in terms of productivity, we have to make sure that we maximize our efforts.
And then the simple way is to allow everybody at the same time to increase the acreage they can grow.
Right.
That is all. So when you decide it goes from 5 to 10 to 15, it's for everybody. Right? So as the production grows, you study the market and you say, well, everybody now, instead of having 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, whatever it is, you can now go up to 5, you can now go up to 10. But it can't be that the big man, because he owns the land, and I'm not fighting against anybody, the big farmer, can grow 50 acres, 100 acres when a small farmer doesn't have that capacity. Allow everybody to grow, allow them to get land from the government that is idle, small farmers, and encourage and empower that group to grow. So we can continue debating it, and I'm sure we can find a middle road solution.
Okay.
But there is much cynicism, and I've heard it, that the small farm is going to be sold out. And let me tell you, it is going to be a major backlash if people in the communities and across Jamaica feel that now that the industry is open, that is not open and fair terms.
Burn the cane fields.
Well, certainly might very well be cooperatives, but then that's another point. Tony, you wanted to respond?
I wanted to add to that. So when we talk about, he said that we might be limited economically. I actually don't think so. I think that you can do this with a happy medium, and they did this in Colorado too. So people that are in the industry in Colorado actually had to live there, and they had to be residents for many years. So you can't be an owner, you can't work in the industry without having residency. So in this situation, when and who writes regulations, it's very simple, and you say that you can only hire local farmers that are certified and registered through whatever local program you would have. So therefore, anyone that has whatever size land has to use local farmers. So therefore, everyone that works in farming has a job. So if somebody has a market demand for something that demands more than 5 acres, well, you have to expand that within the community. So part of what our program was about was utilizing 5, 10, and 15 acreage in the smaller farmers and giving them guidance, giving them things for free, and supplying them with the tools, the genetics, and the information of how to do it better, and so forth. That increases the value of the medicine, that increases with the demand, and that increases with the actual income which that local farmer will make, which will then turn around and spend that back on the community. So I think you can do it. You just have to all, however the system works, come together and figure out how to keep the community locked and involved. So other companies that will come here, and what he's talking about is companies bigger than what I would be considered. And I don't really consider myself very big, but somebody like Pfizer, or somebody that would come in here that would bring their own system, their own labor, and that could happen. And you could get extorted out of a lot of things. And you want to prevent that. And so you have to figure out mechanisms, very simple with the labor and with the farmers.
Okay, we'll take the next person.
Yes, Ganja evening. This is Ganja juice, raw Ganja juice, and I am SS Selassie. So I'm saying, actually on the market helping people anyway. But anyway, still, what I know, I'm here not talk about farmers and protect the farmers, big farmers and this. So I want to ask, they have limited amount and have a thing where I say people that plant 5 tree or 2 tree, you know, something like that. When they are thinking, sometimes them say the citizens have limited amount of tree where them can plant 1, 2 or 3 tree. They have something like that going? No. So the citizens can plant any amount of tree, all the citizens.
No. What Mr. Burke was saying, what Paul Burke was saying.
Yeah, we don't get it. We just want to get it before.
In fact, instead of telling Mr. Burke's story and then Paul Burke say what he wanted to say.
Yeah, one of y'all.
There are 2 situations. There are people who want to go into it for business.
Yeah.
And therefore, there must be some regulatory system how they enter the business.
Yeah.
But I believe also that each and every individual who wants to grow for their own personal use, not for commercial purposes, should be allowed to grow a certain number of plants for his or her own personal use. I don't see why somebody who wants to use it must be forced to go and buy it.
Perfect. Someone want to know, what is that limited amount? You have any idea?
I don't know. Let me tell you.
I heard rumors talking about 5 trees.
No, can I tell you? How about you? Even for the start to allow people without any license, without any regulation, within the confine of their home boundaries, to be able to grow at least 5 trees. Now I'm not.
5 trees.
Hold on, man. I am not tied down with a number. The bigger point, I don't believe. We're not talking about those who want to grow commercially. So if you want to grow commercially for business, that's a different situation. I am talking about unlicensed. That people should not have to go and get a license to grow for their own personal.
We know that.
No, I don't want to debate.
No, we don't debate.
I just want the principle established.
Yes, man.
And that's the principle I have pushed.
We get it clear. But you hear me say, all right, we're going to say we are going to say that. The 5 tree business. I'm a raw foodist. Certain times I go extreme raw. It depends on how the man play a flow. This one I'm saying. But right now, you know what I'm saying? I make a juice called the raw herbal cell anti-aging, anti-cancer ganja juice. Been working on the ground through tourism for have people come from the state to pay 3,000 US, you know what I'm saying, to get a 21-day anti-cancer activation. Right now in Jamaica we're doing it. You know, I take it to the street right now, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, what I'm going to tell you now, and if you don't go like this, it ain't going to work. Medical ganja, this is what I'm saying, can't have 5 trees. Reason why medical ganja can't have trees. I'm not business with the farmer, them, you know. When I look out for, I'm business with the citizens. Each citizen in Jamaica need at least 3 pounds of ganja fresh each day to make ganja salad, what we make. You know what I'm saying? And to drink at least.
So you don't want to limit?
Hold on. I don't say. All I'm saying, in Jamaica, the ganja oil, what gonna be selling, it ain't gonna difference from going to the pharmacy. You're gonna have to have chip. What I'm telling you, with this juice right here, we don't need nothing more. And if we have 3 pounds of ganja each day, 3 pounds of fresh ganja will lick away any cancer cells.
No, but hold on.
So hold on.
First of all, I don't want to free advertising. That's number 1.
No, not free advertising.
Number 2, No, but to get your ideas.
No, it's not ideas, it's law. It's not ideas. What I'm telling you as a professional, £3 of ganja for each citizen. You know what I'm saying? Are the else from all of that? The reason why. A pound of ganja, when you dice it up, if you don't chew it, to make a salad. Oh, yeah, hold on. When you cut up, you don't make a salad, a ganja salad. You need a pound of ganja. So you're going to shred it before chopping. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do that. And when you do that, hold on, man. Listen, this is the foundation you're going to have to establish. Forbid out £3 of ganja for each citizen. It ain't going to work.
All right, I take your point. I take your point. You're right. You're right. Okay, next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Yeah, I don't take the paper that long. I just think that culturally, I like deal with principles. People, we ought to know, Atlantis, the people who built Atlantis in Bahamas, they came to Jamaica first. We really have a serious problem with putting off an almost anti-business. We need to have a culture of, I know it's nice to, soon come, but everything we seem to do is always just seem to put off. And I think that somebody suggested block the road, maybe that, that's one thing. But the point is that I would really like us as a culture to get to the stage where we demand of our leaders, we demand performance and not talk. Right. I feel that wherever the opportunities come up, the avenues, we need to do that. We need, as a culture, maybe doing things on time and just say to them, you have spoken enough. But may I suggest we throw away too many opportunities, and I see it every day. Anyway, that's
I agree with you that there is a fierce urgency of now. But I must suggest that two things. One, 10 years ago, you would have a scientific research council having a meeting like this, where all ideas can contend. And the second thing is that remember that Minister Paul Well is the patron of the Cannabis Task Force. So it seems to me we're in good hands. He's the Minister of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining. We're making progress, but we have to get it right. And we're moving, in my view, as fast as we can. I see where Courtney Betty wants to say something.
Yeah. I don't want to be defending government, but the work that's been done by Minister Golding in coming forward, in starting, it's been slow. It has been slow. But here's the other part of it. If we don't get it right, then all of this is lost. That's my view. That's one point. Doesn't mean that they haven't been slow. The other part of it is Jamaica, from a legal standpoint, is different from many other places in the world. Because whether we like to admit it or not, Ganja is de facto legal in Jamaica. There is according to the United States government, there's 35,000 hectares of Ganja that's being grown in Jamaica right now. So how do you try and impose a legal system on something that's ingrained in the society? So there are some cultural and sensitive areas. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying that there are not things that they could have done, but it's not as simple as many of us would like to think from a strictly legal standpoint. From the political standpoint, I'll leave that to others.
I'm sorry. Courtney and I are friends, colleagues, but I have to disagree fundamentally about getting it right. You can get interim legislation in place, and you can review it in 2-3 years' time. You can allow the growing right now for research and development. You can look at a number of things. This thing can be done if there is the political will, and that's in less than a month. The gun court was put up in 7 days. This thing can be done in less than a month. If you're going to wait to cross every T and dot every I and go to, and you're going to wait another year or 2 to get that legislation off. What you need to do is to put in something interim and have the consultations with the stakeholders, and you make it, you upgrade the law and you add in whatever it is. But I am totally opposed to this concept of getting it right. Yeah. Because it will, by the time we get it right, we will wrong.
Regulation under any law, the difficult, the easy part is you can make regulation say, listen, notwithstanding section so and so, we're allowing so and so, the minister to give permission, blah, blah, blah.
Can I say one thing too on that? Just want to add to it. I had some experience with this. So the United States moves really slow as well. And the way they're getting it done is they're issuing little pieces of paper that are provisional licenses, and they take years to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. It took them 5 years to give me not 7 licenses, I have 19 licenses. 5 years from the time I started on the floor with 3 lights. They gave me a little piece of paper that said go. In the 5th year, they finally caught up to me and they said, well, how much business did you do?